forensic nurse examiners. Chow, good to see you again. This is a very important topic. Let's talk first about defining this emotional, psychological abuse.
Well, first of all, let's make it very clear. Emotional and psychological abuse, Owen, is domestic violence. It's those invisible wounds that people don't see, and it looks like deception, manipulation, verbal threats, isolation. So there are a myriad of things that show up when we talk about emotional and psychological abuse.
So I guess for a lot of people, when you hear domestic violence, you think physical right away, and we can't ignore how important the psychological impacts. What are some of those effects?
Yeah, when we look at emotional and psychological abuse, we look at a perpetrator still exerting power and control over his or her victim, but we're looking at verbal threats. We're looking at put downs. We're looking at things that we call gaslighting. Hey, you're crazy. That didn't happen to you. We're looking at things that are words and tactics to further shame or make somebody feel like they're less than. And the effects can be life-changing for victims. I mean, they could go through things for a lifetime like anxiety, depression, addiction. And we talk about something called the neurobiology of trauma, which is when something bad happens to you, it changes your brain chemistry. You lose agency over who you are, your decision-making abilities, how you feel about yourselves. These can have debilitating, lifelong effects, and it's so important because those are the survivors I counsel that we see in the domestic violence front.
So the abuser, in that sense, the impact that they have on the victim, literally they're changing who the person is by nature of the abuse?
Yeah, I mean, a victim can show up and really feel like they're a shell of themselves and feel isolated and feel anxious and feel less than. And those are terrible, debilitating effects.
I imagine there might be somewhat of a fine line between maybe a couple it's a little joking, it's a little pushing, it's a little nagging, and then it crosses into how can someone tell the difference? Because if they're being gaslighted, they're meant to feel like this is normal. So how are they to even determine that it's not normal?
Because they're going to doubt themselves. And what you talk about is that slow trickling effect of abuse, and over time, how it wears and wears on a victim, where ultimately they lose agency and worth over themselves. So we